Welcome, everyone, and thank you, sincerely thank you for coming today. Today's a day of history, not just for UNK, not just for the university system, but I think it's a day of history for the state of Nebraska. Good afternoon. My name is Doug Christensen. I'm lucky enough to be the chancellor here at the University of Nebraska at Kearney, and President Carter, Chancellor Jeff Gold, and I welcome all of you on behalf of the university, and we share our appreciation for you to come join us. There's been some historic days on this campus, but I don't think, short of the one in 1905 when we started, there's been one any bigger than today. It's going to be remembered for years, and it is an event. There are few events in life. This is an event in the life of the university and for all of our campuses. So welcome to Kearney, Nebraska. It's the region's hub for healthcare and rural healthcare education. It's an oasis. Everything you'd want is here in Kearney. It really is. And so it's a beautiful afternoon. This is a perfect place and time for my friends and all of my accomplished colleagues. President Carter and Chancellor Gold, they're going to join me in this historic collaboration. It's going to change Nebraska like no other. I've got many introductions this afternoon, but first of all, I just want to reflect for a few minutes. And I guess starting your 22nd year, you get the chance to do that for a little bit and reminisce. So I'll call you back to Friday, April 4th, 2014. I don't know how many of you were here that day. We were very close. We're just right behind me over here. The night before, it snowed in April, and I mean it snowed, and it was cold. We were close to canceling a groundbreaking for the rural health building behind us, the Health Science Education Complex. We had a couple of meetings. I think Charlie was pretty vocal about we've come this far, we're going to dig it in the snow if we have to. But you know, by about 11 o'clock in the morning, the sun came out, melted all the snow away, and by 1 p.m., it was a gorgeous spring morning. And after 5 years of planning that facility and fundraising, we turned ground that day for the Health Science Education Complex. Shortly after that, we had a luncheon, and at that luncheon was Chancellor Helmore of the Med Center, and it was a small group, and there was a lot of conversation about, well, this is a great project. What are we going to do next? And the topic was, well, we're going to put this on steroids. We're going to bring all the colleges of UNMC out to Kearney. And I think Chancellor Moore kind of swallowed twice and said, well, of course. We didn't need any more affirmation that that was a go to do that. 16 months later, we had the grand opening. Dr. Gold, that was one of the first events you'd come to. It was a great day. In the 8 years since the opening of that complex, which is a truly unique cross-collaboration between two campuses, you'll really see how committed the University of Nebraska Medical Center is to rural health and how eager students really are to study here and gain a world-class education in rural Nebraska and begin their careers and stay here. So Nebraskans are really realizing that access to healthcare is the key to economic vitality. It's the key to survival for so many of our communities. You can't pay people to be happy. You have to provide the environment for them to appreciate living in rural areas and serving people who are genuinely appreciative. The new building that we're celebrating today is going to continue on that success. We envisioned that over 10 years ago, and we began to work on it ever since. So there's lots of things that have happened on this campus that have happened in the university as a whole to make today possible to do that. Once again, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. I've looked forward to some time, and so has my colleague, Dr. Gold, to be able to visit with you, President Carter as well. Well, I have some guests that I'm going to introduce. There are many other donors, good friends, people who we want to acknowledge, and so I'll get started at the beginning. We have our local state senator, John Lowe. John, welcome. I thought I saw Teresa Eibach somewhere, Senator. I know I saw you walking. You're sitting on my lap. Thank you. Senator Rob Clements, who's the chair of the Appropriations Committee, thank you for coming out. It's great to see you and have you here as well. And we have former Senator John Stinner. And John, thank you so much. He was the Appropriations Chair that saw fit to be the champion inside that committee. That's a tough committee. And we would not be here today but for the support of the state of Nebraska and to use those federal funds for what they were really intended to do, and that was to help people and to do it in really with the purpose of health care in mind, and we've done that. The chair of our Board of Regents, Tim Clare, is here. Paul Kinney. Thank you, Paul. Are you? Oh. He's speaking, so okay, I get that. Got it. Regent Jack Stark. Thank you, Jack. Regent Barb White is here as well. I see Regent Kathy Wilmot. Thank you for coming. Our student regent, Timo Molina. Come on. We also have the mayor of the city of Kearney, Stan Klaus, and our city manager, Mike Morgan. Stan's back there. You know, the city was really, really supportive and committed $5 million to start within the project. Without the support of the city, none of this campus would be possible. We are so appreciative of the city of Kearney. The city council. Yeah, you're later in the program, but we'll get to you. I'm sorry. From the community college, we have Matt Gottschall, Pam Bales, Kelly Christensen, Joel King, and Candy Walton. Yeah. We thank you all for coming, and you really have been so vital to our success here. I also want to acknowledge former Regent Bob Ferris, Bob and his wife Margene. Thank you for being here. Thank you to our longtime friend of the university and the Kearney community, Mr. Mike Yanni. Mike, thanks for being here. On my list, I also get to introduce Paul and Linda Eunice here in the front. Tom and Mary Henning. Thank you. And Carrie and Brian Hamilton. They are our current UNK chairs of the University of Nebraska Foundation's capital campaign only in Nebraska. They've been wonderful chairs, great leaders, and we're glad that they're here today. Thank you. Before we have other recognitions and turn the program over to President Carter, I just want to set the stage a little bit. According to the data, there are 12 counties in Nebraska who have no primary care physician. There are 14 counties who have no family medicine physicians. All but 2 counties in the state of Nebraska in some way or other have been declared medically deficient in terms of healthcare providers. And they're all in rural Nebraska. Dr. Gold's going to elaborate on the global impact of the University of Nebraska Medical Center in a few minutes. But many of us have struggled over the years with either ourselves or our loved ones not having access to health care. Nursing homes, hospitals, and clinics have closed because of lack of staff. Families drive for hours to get any sort of health care. But training and education for health professionals is a demand clearly in demand here. 1 in 5 at UNK students who apply for admission are interested in healthcare careers. Nearly 1/4 of our students that are coming here, that are here on campus today, are interested in the health science majors. 1/4 of them. Positions in medical and professional schools are scarce and highly competitive. At UNK, we've got a program called K-HOP, which has 125 students right now and which is going to grow. But we have 56 of them who are new. They're taking the advantage to prepare for rural health professions. And they're enrolled, they're coming from all over the state of Nebraska. And they're all committed to someday practicing their profession here in Nebraska and in rural Nebraska. Nebraska leads the nation in the proportion of local doctors who are serving their home state. Think of that, people who come back, who grew up, who serve their local community. It's really what Nebraskans are all about. So we've got students like Gracie Woods. Now, she's from Grand Island. She wants to be a physician's assistant. Carter Cochran, he's from here in Kearney. He wants to be a doctor. Carly Bartak, she's from Myrna. She wants to be a pharmacist. All of them are interested in coming back to here. UNMC's current student regent, Katie Schultes, is from Dillard, was an undergraduate here, as well as her predecessor, Nicole Kent. Both of them wonderful examples of students who came to rural Nebraska and who want to return. So for us, this is all about investment. This is all about putting things and doing without things to put them into a common goal and cause. This building really is the one that's going to do that. It's going to draw all these people together. Where else? Nowhere else is going to have the world-class education that's on the grounds you're sitting on today available for students in rural Nebraska. I see my good friend Charlie Bisek here, who's our former Senior Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, who's worked so many hours. Charlie, I don't know what we'd done without you. Thank you very much. Peggy Abels is here today, and her team of UNK Health Sciences, they represent what happens when people take an interest in students and want to make sure that their careers are on the right path. She's delivered a lot of hard news about perhaps you should have Plan B or Plan C. But you know what? She's served every one of those students, and many, many of them are in rural Nebraska today in some form of health care. President Ted Carter provided tremendous leadership for us in this project. Since his arrival in 2020, he's had a real commitment towards workforce development, but it was President Carter who, we had a little internal discussion about what the priorities of the university were. President Carter's been a tremendous supporter. His message to the legislature about this is our #1 project really carried a tremendous amount of weight. At this point in time, I'd like you to all welcome President of the University of Nebraska, Ted Carter.
Well, good afternoon, Doug. Thank you for the introduction. And thank you all for coming out here today. This is truly a historic day. I've got a chance to see a few things in my life, do a few things in my life. By the way, if you want to know what it's like to be on an aircraft carrier launching fighter jets, this is about the right amount of wind, so you just make yourselves right at home. I want to talk a little bit about why this is so important, not only to Kearney, not only to the state of Nebraska, but really this is sending a message to our entire nation about what we're doing here today. We just had a little thing in Memorial Stadium called Volleyball Day in Nebraska. Some of you might have heard about it. 92,003 paid fans to come in attendance. National recognition, worldwide recognition. I would tell you what we're doing today has 10 times more magnitude impact than what that national event, the type of attention we got from that. And you are all here now. You will bear witness to this 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever number of years go back. And when they write the book about the history of the University of Nebraska now in its 153rd year, what has happened here today will become its own chapter. And I want to say thank you to Doug Christensen, longest serving chancellor here at the University of Nebraska at Kearney. This project does not happen without Doug. Doug should be applauded every minute, every chance we get today. So Doug, I'm going to start that off right here. Kearney was the first campus I visited as I was coming in here as the priority candidate. And as Doug has reflected on a lot of things that have happened, I have my own interesting reflection as I got to go to pretty much every major community, every small town in the state of Nebraska over that month of November in 2019. And I distinctly remember my wife and I going to Curtis. It was on an NFL Sunday afternoon. I mean, who's going to come out and talk to, the potential president of the university on a football Sunday, population 900. I don't know, there's about 65 people that came there, and they were asking me questions about broadband. And one of the questions that came up was rural health care. And I'll never forget, I got in the car. Linda and I were riding around with then Regent Jim Pillen. And Linda from the back seat said, "Ted, are you in charge of that?" And Jim Pillen said, "President of this university is in charge of everything." And although that was kind of funny at the time, there was an element of truth to it. So I just want to tell you that as I've come here and I will finish 4 years with you as your university president, yes, I'm regretful that it is that short, and there is going to be another chapter in my life, one that will still connect me to this state forever. What I have come to know about Nebraska is this is a state that gets what it means to fulfill a mission for the common good. And we at the university are a strong partner in that. We take care of our students. We take care of our faculty. We take care of our staff. We educate them. We change lives. And that's what this project is all about. Doug introduced the vast majority of our regents. They deserve a particular part of this success story because as we went through our priorities 2 years ago about what we would ask the legislature to support, let me tell you, it was a battle. I still remember directly being in that room with the 4 chancellors discussing what it is that we were going to ask the legislature to support. The Board of Regents backed us up on this, and they didn't have to do that. In fact, they publicly made a resolution that said that they would support all the elements that we would come forward with and request. And this almost didn't happen. And the reason why is as we were going through that discussion, and Doug, you could tell the story better than anybody, and Jeff, I know you'll probably tell some of the story too, but the requirements for the money that we were going to ask the legislature on that short session 2 years ago, and Senator John Stinner has a huge part in honoring this request, we were only going to go for monies that were one-time money. So this education health facility has got to be more than one-time money. $65 million appropriated from the state, $35 million to be raised privately in rural Nebraska. That doesn't just happen, but it did. It happened. But it's the operational dollars that got put into that budget without hurting the other campuses that made this so special, and it made this a statewide effort. And although the chancellors of Lincoln and Omaha are not here, they deserve just as much credit because this was a team effort to come in and say this was our top priority in that legislative session. We hadn't raised a dime. And now here we are ready to break ground on what is truly a historic project. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to change the trajectory for rural Nebraska. It's an opportunity to build our workforce, attract talent, and work toward a future where no Nebraskan has to cross county lines to get the health care that they need. As I said, Chancellor Christensen has been a tireless advocate of this project from the start, and we will continue to owe him a debt of gratitude for his leadership in getting us to this point. The collaboration between UNK and UNMC is a model for how public university systems should do business. It is a true marriage of missions, talent, resources, and service to a bigger cause. I'm not sure you could find this kind of cross-country campus partnership and collaboration anywhere else in the world. The engagement and support of the Board of Regents has been instrumental in our progress, and I know I just said that, but I wanted to say it again. The same goes for the support of our elected leaders at the Capitol. Senator John Stinner, our Appropriations Committee, Governor Ricketts, Governor Pillen. They all owe us an amazing amount of support to make this happen for rural Nebraska. We're going to work every day to provide a great return on their visionary investment. The philanthropic community has responded, as has the city, with the commitments of their own, and we are deeply grateful. And although my job will not be to go through the list of some of those folks, I know there are others going to follow behind me that will. But at the end of the day, this shows that when the vision is right, when we are aligned in our mission to do good, when we have a big idea to expand opportunities for students and make our communities better and create hope for the future, we can come together to achieve great things for Nebraska. The University of Nebraska has prioritized and invested in the growth and vitality of rural Nebraska since our founding. Today, we take another step in growing every corner of our state. And I know that when the Rural Health Education Building opens its doors to its first students in late 2025, fully operational in 2026, we will start a new chapter in improving the lives of those we serve. So to wrap up, congratulations to every single one of you that chose to take time out of your day here to be part of this historic day. I want to say thank you for the future of our workforce, our communities, and the entire state. God bless the great state of Nebraska. Chancellor, I turn it back over to you. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, President Carter, and you're so right. No one person's responsible for any of this. It is a tremendous team effort. Everybody had a very important part. Without that, this wouldn't be happening today. And so, I also think, Senator Lowe, there were a few days I camped out in your office, and I expressed a little bit of hesitation about whether all this might happen. And his words were, "We got it. It's okay. Not to worry." Now, I don't know how you knew that, but I appreciate the counsel. Thank you very much. During the last 8 years, it's been my privilege to serve as a colleague with the Chancellor of the University of Nebraska Medical Center, Jeff Gold. Jeff has been a strong friend, partner, leader for that institution. He was here when we broke ground not long ago for a Nebraska Medicine Cancer Center. Jeff, I'd like to have you out about every 6 months. We could do groundbreaking to do that. But Jeff Gold has become a tremendous collaborative partner. And he has a view of the world that is much broader. And he sees a bigger picture. And I would, at this point, like to ask my good friend and colleague Jeff Gold to come on up to the stage and give us your vision and your words. Dr. Jeff Gold.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Carter, Chancellor Christensen, members of the Board of Regents, and others, I cannot tell you how honored and humbled I am to be with you today on what is unquestionably a historic day, not only for the state of Nebraska, but frankly, as a clear and cogent message to all of rural America of what can be done when the communities come together with great universities, with their legislatures, with their elected officials, with their philanthropic communities, to really try to make a difference. I always feel the warmth and the hospitality when I come here to Kearney. It's just an amazing campus, and today with all of you here is certainly no different. The Med Center's commitment to serving our state has never been greater. We're proud that we have not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 brick and mortar campuses throughout Nebraska, in Scottsbluff, in Norfolk, in Lincoln, in Omaha, and of course for many, many years here in Kearney. We cannot be more thrilled that our outreach and our service to central and western Nebraska will only grow through the investment of this new state-of-the-art learning and teaching facility in partnership with the University of Nebraska at Kearney. Now, Chancellor Christensen has shared some of the grim statistics regarding the access to affordable quality health care in the state of Nebraska. And by the way, I just want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it is not different than many of the rural farming and ranching states of our nation. Major shortages in primary care. Of the state of Nebraska's 93 counties, 90 are designated as behavioral health shortage areas. But according to the data recently updated by the Association of American Medical Colleges, the AAMC, UNMC's College of Medicine ranks in the 96th percentile. That is nearly the very top of the 158 medical colleges in the United States of graduates who serve rural communities. We're in the 83rd percentile of our graduates who remain to practice in their home state. You know, Ted, I'm starting to think we may have to change course here if the wind pulls up a bit. Think about that. And more so, every other medical school in the country have trained physicians who serve in their rural states, but almost none have the commitment that our graduates have across all of the health professions. And why is that? That is because we require every single one of our graduates to have experiences in both urban and rural communities, in well-served and in underserved communities as well. And the numbers are similar across all of our programs. And the best news in all is this: those numbers, as a result of this program, will only grow right here in Kearney. That means improved health and health care. It means citizens traveling fewer miles for care. It means small and mid-sized communities thriving economically. In case you're not aware of this, if you look at the recent statistics, the UNMC alumni that just practiced in rural Nebraska last year generated $5.1 billion, that's billion with a B, in economic impact. But not only is this important to health and wellness, but it's critically important to the economic prosperity of our state. So speaking of interdisciplinary and interprofessional instruction, when this facility is complete, the combined campuses here in Kearney will be the single largest interprofessional, interdisciplinary, healthcare rural training campus in the United States. So let me repeat that. Yeah, thank you. You know, having served on the board of the LCME that accredits every medical school in the United States and Canada, and on the board of the ACGME, I do not quote that statistic lightly. We will have over 640 young women and young men who have a dedicated interest in practicing medicine and delivering care and caring in rural America, and particularly here in Kearney. And it will be the largest collaborative interdisciplinary project in the United States, and indeed certainly one of the largest in the G20 across the world. And so what does this mean to rural Nebraska? What does this mean to rural America? You know, I get asked that question all the time. Are you going out to build a building? Well, much more importantly than that, what I think of is that young children will grow up with next-door neighbors who are going to medical school and nursing school and pharmacy school. They'll have friends who will become their role models to say, I can do this too, as opposed to those that are in some city far away. It means that safety on our farms and ranches and growth of the agricultural sector can be done. And I've come to learn that farming and ranching is not a safe business, and that there are endless numbers of small and in some cases very serious accidents. There's probably a helicopter that lands at the Med Center in Omaha almost every night with somebody that's had an interaction with a tractor drive or fallen off of something. Not that I know of anybody who's ever fallen off of anything. It means that we can manage chronic diseases like asthma and diabetes and treat people for cancer in their home communities so that they don't have to have windshield time, take time off from work. And very importantly, it means that as our parents and grandparents age gracefully, that they can have a place that they can call home medically so that they don't have to feel that their medical needs are halfway across the state or in other states surrounding us. These are critical changes that will directly occur. And as I've said many, many times, we're not just building a building. We are going to be changing the human workforce that will not only fill this community, but will fill every hospital, clinic, and ambulatory care center in rural Nebraska. Now, in closing, I want to share that many of our colleges will have programs in this facility, and the leadership of those programs are all here. And this took a village to get here. You know, I'm standing here in front of you representing literally hundreds of deans, directors, faculty, and students who have had a voice. So in respect to their being here, let me just ask to start off with Dr. Deli Davies, our Senior Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, if you don't mind standing. Dr. Brad Bridigan, the Dean of the College of Medicine. One of our newest members, Dr. Lapina Sharp McHenry, the Dean of the College of Nursing. Dr. Kyle Meyer, the Dean of the College of Allied Health Professions. Dr. Brendan Grimm, our Associate Dean in the College of Public Health. Dr. Keith Olson, the Dean of the College of Pharmacy. So thank you so much for being here. I'd also like to recognize our faculty and staff who currently work in Kearney, in our nursing and in our allied health programs that have been so successful. Could I ask you to stand and let us thank you for all that you do? I know many of you are here. Don't be shy. Please stand up. There you are. And by the way, in case you're wondering, they all eat in the restaurants here and enjoy this community greatly. Of course, it's no surprise that here in Nebraska, that the secret sauce for making this facility happen was collaboration from our great university system, the communities we serve, the private philanthropists, and our local and state officials. Public-private partnerships have been and continue to be how we get things done here in Nebraska. And as someone who has served in many other communities on the coast of this country and elsewhere, I will tell you that this is absolutely unique, and I refer to it as the Nebraska way. And when I get to be a visiting speaker at some, rubber chicken dinner somewhere, and I tell them how we do it with public-private partnerships, they say, "How does that happen?" And I say, "Well, that's Nebraska, right?" Absolutely. Now, I know that there are others who will speak after me who will name our principal donors by name, and I will not do that, but I do want to say how proud I am to have personal relationships with all of you, and I cannot thank you enough for your support of this facility and for what we have done and continue to do together. It is an incredible privilege. We're also very clearly grateful to the state of Nebraska, to the city of Kearney, to Central Community College. The president was introduced just a minute ago. In case you're not aware, we are sharing space in this building. One of the absolute firsts that the university and a community college are working together for the good of the community. How strange is that, right? Central Community College, of course, our colleagues within the University of Nebraska system and UNK. When we break ground in just a few minutes, we'll have a terrific picture. We'll have a photograph. We'll have an enduring memory of the widespread support for this project. And as I understand it, there'll be more than 20 people who will pick up a shovel and move some dirt for today's ceremony. What a terrific illustration of the support for what we are celebrating today. And so as I close, I tell you how much I look forward to the ribbon cutting in just over 2 short years, with great pride and with great excitement for what's to come. For today, we break ground, we sow the seeds, and in the not-so-distant future, and for decades to come, we will harvest the bounty, the future professionals whose in caring hands the health and wellness of rural Nebraska will depend for decades and decades to come. Thank you so much for being here today.
Jeff, thank you so much. It has been a tremendous pleasure to work with you and with all of your people at the University of Nebraska Medical Center. It's kind of amazing how many of those people are also UNK grads. I kind of like that, but they are. Tammy, I took a little bit of liberty with others that were supposed to introduce, and I want you all to meet somebody who is really important to us, who's on our faculty, but also serves on the city council for the city of Kearney. Tammy Moore. Tammy, thank you for being here. You've heard it so many times. This project wouldn't be here but for the support of it, and you fill in the blank. Well, there's one other blank that we need to fill in here real quickly. From day one, the Board of Regents of our university have been champions of this effort. They are a huge reason we're here. Their public support, their personal, private interest and support. We are very fortunate to have a Board of Regents that understood the unique needs of rural Nebraska and not just where the most amount of students are at or where the largest buildings are at. They truly care about what happens to the entire state and the importance of having all of our communities be served by the University of Nebraska. It's truly amazing, and one that we're lucky to have. Regent Paul Kearney of Amherst, who represents District 6 of the University of Nebraska Board of Regents since 2016. He served in 2021 as the chair of the board. Paul's here to bring words on behalf of the Board of Regents. Regent Kearney, welcome.
Thank you, Chancellor Christensen, and I thank you for your leadership on this project. It wasn't that long ago I first heard you describe your vision for the second facility at UNK campus that would educate future care professionals for our part of the state. And now we're here, about to break ground. Your vision is becoming a reality. Kearney, Nebraska could not ask for a more passionate champion and a more dedicated leader who pours 100% of his energy into students in his community. Doug, we're so lucky to have you as my friend and our chancellor. I am honored on behalf of the Board of Regents. I look upon the audience, and the state's greatest leaders are gathered here in Kearney to celebrate this momentous occasion for our community. It's a special feeling in my heart. As someone who spent all of his life in this area and raised 4 sons here and loves Nebraska, it's hard to put into words what the Rural Health Education Building means to me personally as a regent. A project of this magnitude, involving many partners at this level of resources, have been poured into Kearney. And as I said at our last board meeting, it's almost unheard of. But here we are. Thank you. Chancellor Christensen recognized many public-private partners earlier today, but I want to say my thanks as well. The support of former Governor Ricketts and now Governor Pillen, who are both very strong advocates of rural Nebraska, have been invaluable. It's incredible what happens when everyone from the legislature to the donor community to our local leaders to the university come together in this way. From a board perspective, I can tell you that everyone is excited about this project. We all recognize that the Rural Health Education Building is going to make the state of Nebraska and the region of this country a special place. I think about how we're going to make life better for my grandchildren, their children, and their grandchildren. What an honor to be on the board at this time for this transformational change that is coming to fruition. As regents, our number one priority is to make the University of Nebraska fulfill in its mission to serve students and to help the people of Nebraska. Today, the groundbreaking of the Rural Health Education Building, we are achieving that mission. Thank you again and congratulations. We've all played a part. Chancellor, I'll turn it back to you.
I won't tread on the introductions, but you reminded me, Regent Kearney. Ruth, you remember when we had the ribbon cutting to the building to the south of me, and you and I won't tell the story that embarrasses you, but I will tell. She really does deserve to be embarrassed. But we were standing looking out those windows, and she said, "What's that out there?" And I said, "That's going to be our next building. That's our next project." And I kind of talked a little bit about what the vision might be. You haven't lost the smile since the smile I saw when I started to describe this facility, and we're here today. Nikki Carrot currently serves as UNMC's Assistant Vice Chancellor for Workforce Education Relations and is the Director of Rural Health Initiatives. She's been leading conversations for almost 2 decades on rural health, both in Nebraska and nationally. She was so helpful in advancing both the health science education complex and now this facility. In short terms, Nikki Carrot is a rock star. She has been an invaluable source of information, encouragement, and advice about rural health to all of us. Nikki, we so appreciate what you did for us and how you did it. I know that Chancellor Gold's got a lot of other duties for you, but if you ever need a home, we got a spot for you out here, all right? It's my pleasure to introduce Nikki Carrot.
Well, that was a very, very kind introduction. Thanks, Chancellor Christensen. But as others have said before me, I sincerely want to thank the community for your warm hospitality every time we come out here, whether it's our current faculty and staff or those of us who are visiting as we plan for the building that will soon be breaking ground for. The hospitality, again, can't go unrecognized. Thanks to our donors and the other champions for supporting this monumental project. While we're excited to be here today to celebrate the groundbreaking for the new Rural Health Education Building, we're even more enthusiastic to celebrate today as a milestone that officially brings the vision for this project to life. The education and training that will happen within its walls and what will spill into the healthcare systems, clinics, and communities throughout the region, the state, and beyond. On behalf of UNMC, the 5 colleges that Dr. Gold mentioned briefly previously, and multiple healthcare training programs that will be represented and offered on the Kearney campus, alongside and in collaboration with UNK programs, we are working diligently to bring that vision to life through innovation, new partnerships, and interprofessional collaborations. These strategic curricular and operational plans promise to prepare the hundreds of students that will be educated in this building every year to be leaders in their profession and in the rural communities in which they will live and serve. The education that happens here in Kearney for the state of Nebraska is something that we can be incredibly proud of and serve as a model across the nation. With rural healthcare workforce shortages plaguing rural communities across Nebraska and beyond, and limiting access to healthcare for our families and communities that need it, this collaboration between UNK and UNMC will be a critical part of the solution. But it doesn't stop there. It takes the partnership and support of the rural hospitals and clinics, some of them represented here today, that are opening their doors to more learners more frequently to allow them to have their clinical training in the communities in which these individuals and healthcare leaders will serve, to our partnerships with other educational partners, to, again, grow our healthcare workforce in the communities in which they'll serve, to communities developing short-term housing for learners and engaging them in local chambers of commerce and civic clubs, to the alums that graciously offer their time as mentors and hosts. Ultimately, these partnerships and the dedication driving them that happens only in Nebraska, and the well-orchestrated expansion will result in a workforce that's better prepared to live in, support, and provide health care in a vibrant rural Nebraska. We're eager to build on the excellence and outcomes of the existing partnership with UNK that have set a strong foundation for the transformational work that's ahead as we prepare to break ground on the Rural Health Education Building. So thank you for being a part of this historical day. We look forward to what's ahead.
Thank you, Nikki, very much. We appreciate everything you've done and you're continuing to do for us. Obviously, we needed federal funding. We needed state funding. And both of those should not go unrecognized and haven't today, but there's also donors who are committed to improving rural health in a very meaningful way and advancing the University of Nebraska. I dare say, as Chancellor Gold talked about, nowhere else in the country is this happening. Nowhere. Where you have two campuses come together and a world-class rural health education mission on a rural campus where they come together. Our largest donor effort was the building behind me. That was $4 million. This is almost 9 times that effort to make sure this next facility happens. Brian Hastings, you and your team have worked tirelessly to help us to make sure that this is going to happen. I'd say thank you and congratulations on the effort. Put it in the tagline, only in Nebraska would this happen, and that's very, very true. At this point, I'd like to recognize and bring to you the leader of the University of Nebraska Foundation, Mr. Brian Hastings. Brian?
Thank you, Chancellor Christensen. It's great to be out here and represent our foundation team. Another beautiful Chamber of Commerce day for Kearney, Nebraska. Sunny, beautiful, and if you're wondering or doubting about that, just come sit in my seat over here on the end, which is conveniently placed in the sun. So it's Lucas Start, and I always joke about the beautiful weather in Kearney, and he made sure that I got an appreciation for it today. So. We gather on this field here on the western portion of the campus at UNK to really celebrate another amazing milestone in this tremendous partnership between UNMC and UNK. And it's been a real pleasure for our team to help support the dynamic vision that Chancellor Christensen and Chancellor Gold forged for this project and to help bring it to life. President Carter and Chancellor Gold, everybody, all the other speakers made reference to things from the amazing attendance record for Volleyball Day in Nebraska last week, right? Last Wednesday, a world record for attendance at a women's athletics event, to this, and 2 campuses coming together to try to address and solve a workforce shortage for rural Nebraska and to provide better health care for Nebraskans across our state. I do posit and say, really, only in Nebraska could you see 2 things like that happening within a week's time. We really live in an amazing place, and I think we should just give everybody here a tremendous round of applause for how awesome Nebraska is. I want to thank my foundation colleagues first as I acknowledge our philanthropic partners, because so often what they do is behind the scenes, quietly done, and they don't get a lot of credit and recognition. And on behalf of their teams, I want to recognize 3 individuals who are with us today. Lori Byrne, our Executive Vice President for Advancement. Lucas Start is sitting next to her. He leads our UNK team out here. And Amy Volk, I know Amy was here, and I don't know where she went to. She's over there. Hi, Amy, who leads our UNMC team. But can we just say thanks to our foundation team? Our mission at the University Foundation, we say, is we grow relationships and resources that enable the University of Nebraska to change lives and save lives, right? And if you think about the purpose of this particular project here at the Rural Health Education Building, I think it really fits that mission like a glove. And finding ways to bring more medical and health care students, health students to Kearney here in central Nebraska to study, to get their degrees, and then to go off and to provide amazing, life-changing, life-saving health care across the state. So it's an awesome project on so many different fronts. It's also, as you've heard today, one of our top priorities for Only in Nebraska, a campaign for our university's future. And so I want to begin by acknowledging and recognizing our awesome UNK campaign committee. And so you had a chance, and we introduced Carrie and Brian Hamilton, who I would ask that we wave and clap and acknowledge once again. But I know we have other members of the UNK campaign committee who are here. Can I just ask them to stand and to be recognized and wave and be acknowledged as well? All of our other members of the UNK campaign committee, thank you. And one of the great things about this project is when you look at the supporters, they range from Omaha to the Panhandle. And it's one of the things that I love about the big projects that we do, because we get support from across this entire state. And I just think it speaks again to just the wonderful nature of Nebraskans. And so I have the privilege of introducing our principal benefactors. It's not an exhaustive list of all of our supporters for this project, but it's the list of supporters without whom this wouldn't be happening today. And so I'm going to ask each of them, if they can, to stand or at least wave their hand and be acknowledged as I call their name. First and foremost, the William and Ruth Scott Family Foundation, and we have with us today Ruth Scott and her son, John Scott, here. We so appreciate your support, and Bill and Ruth, their support, they've left an indelible mark across the entire University of Nebraska system. Thank you for being with us. I know I believe our friends at the Walter Scott Family Foundation had to depart to get back for another appointment, but we did have with us Ann Folkers and Laura Miller representing the Walter Scott Family Foundation, so let's just give them a thanks. We don't have a representative of the Peter Kiewit Foundation with us today, but again, let's acknowledge the Peter Kiewit Foundation's partnership in this project. Union Pacific Foundation, again, not with the representative here today, but UP and Union Pacific Foundation support has helped make this project possible. Pinnacle Bank and the Dinsdale family, and representing them today we have Sid Dinsdale here, as well as John Hoggett from Pinnacle Bank. The Ron and Carol Cope Foundation, who've done so much here in the community of Kearney, and I know Bill Oldfather's with us today. And one of the great things about this project has been support that's come locally also from here in Kearney. And so I want to acknowledge two supporters in particular, Tom and Mary Henning. Where are Tom and Mary at? There they are. And right next to them, Paul and Linda Eunice as well. Beyond these principal benefactors, there's others who have supported this project. There will be others who will continue to support this project in the programs that go into it in the years ahead too. So to recognize all of those, I'd like to just give one final round of applause to the totality of all the supporters, current and future, for rural health.
Well, you've heard it all. It's great, isn't it? This is a day that I'll guarantee you, in 10 years, in 20 years, you're going to look back and you're going to go, I was there the day they broke ground for that building. And look what it's done for Nebraska. And look what it's done for our communities and our health care. And I had a part in it because I was there. I really hope you all appreciate how important this point in history is, because this really is there. I thought that Paul Kinney in a Regents meeting really hit the nail on the head where he was talking to us, and we made a presentation, and he said, I've never seen so many people on one side of a project or of an issue. Everybody's on the side of this because everyone who's heard about it buys into it. They believe it and they understand it, and they know in their heart that it's the right thing to do. And we are lucky that we get a chance to do that with all of your help. And I know there's no other place in the country that's doing this. And we're going to be a model. Our trouble is we're so busy getting it done, we probably won't be out there patting ourselves on the back. But that's kind of what Nebraskans do. And so we're going to get this project done. My closing words to you, if you like this, wait till you see what we're going to do next. I'm serious. We got other things to do. We're going to make all of you very proud of this project. Dr. Gold and I are going to make sure that it gets done and that they hire world-class people who are going to be here. This is really a great opportunity for so many of our students. So when you came today, you probably saw these shovels. This is not a Groundhog Day, or for those of you who like golf and Caddyshack, this is not the gopher that's dug all of it up. We have a lot of partners here today and donors to this project. And I trust that all of you have been given instructions about who's digging and where you're at. So I'm going to ask you at this point in time to move over so we can do the ceremonial turning of the first shovels of dirt. After that, we're going to adjourn. Again, a sincere thank you for all of you who have come, who've participated, who've added and made this possible, and for all of you standing out in the sun, bless you. I noticed that Brian Hastings has got a tan now, and so let's adjourn over to the side of for our groundbreaking.